welcome to another video. Today I'm joined by my tiny mother.
Hi.
And I'm joined by my tiny mother because she's recently finished reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. And that's really exciting.
It is.
I read ACOTAR before I started my YouTube channel, so I've never done a book talk on it because I read it such a long time prior to starting this. But now that my mother's read it, I haven't reread it, and it probably would have been a good idea for me to reread it before doing this because I can't remember a lot of it. But now that Mum's read it, we can talk about it.
She's relying on my memory.
Well, you literally finished it like 20 minutes ago. So I'm pretty sure your memory's probably quite good.
Quite fresh.
Give us an overview. What's it about? Don't spoil it. But
That's going to be my hard part, not spoiling it.
before you start though, if you don't know what ACOTAR's about, you've probably been living in a cave in a mountain area for most of your life because everyone and their mum has read this book.
Jade asked me to read this book not long ago, said that I would enjoy it. First 6 pages, I wanted to shelve it. Wasn't gripped at all. And she told me to persevere, so I did. A few pages later, haven't put it down since. Read it in 2 days. Really good, really, really good. The parts that grip you really do grip you.
What was it about the first 6 pages that
Just
you
nothing
didn't
was
like?
happening. It wasn't anything that I would read. The way the story was going, it was a bit pasty and
Okay.
hunty and
So-
not really my thing.
Pretty much how the book starts is with a girl called Feyre who is pretty much looking after her family because her mum is no longer around. Her dad is slightly disabled. Doesn't he have a leg issue or something?
Yeah, he was injured.
Their family used to be really wealthy, and
Mum had died.
yeah,
Dad lost his wealth through misfortune of the so-called weather. And
it was on a ship, wasn't it? Yeah.
creditors injured him.
Yeah.
Feyre was left to look after them. Her 2 older sisters
Were
aren't
awful.
much cop really. But she was left to look after them, and that's kind of how it starts. You're with Feyre
In the forest,
hunting for food, and it just wasn't my thing. Then there's a big turnabout.
Then stuff starts happening, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where you can't really say anything if you haven't read this book
No.
because stuff happens.
Feyre
that-
goes hunting, makes a kill, and from that kill things escalate, shall we
Yeah,
say.
it's a bit
Quite
of a,
rapidly
it's
as
a bit
well.
of a domino effect from this one
This
kill.
one kill.
that just leads to the rest of the book, to be honest.
Yeah, and it goes on from there really. And she's taken from her family to live in a faraway land with a so-called beast,
Oh, that would be a good point to say if you aren't aware it is Beauty and the Beast retelling.
which I didn't know when I started reading it, but when it started escalating,
It became a bit more evident.
it became quite apparent. And that's when we discussed it, and you said it was a rewrite, and I said, oh, I didn't know that, but it is kind of obvious. But not a rewrite, and you'd think that you're going to think it's Beauty and the Beast all the way through, because
Oh,
it's not. No, not at all.
No.
But it is good.
But it is it's loosely based
Very
on the whole
loosely.
Beauty and a Beast.
Yeah, very
Thing.
loosely. So yeah, good book. Definitely worth reading. I've now started the second one. I'm a little bit torn as to whether to start the second one. I liked how this ended. It finished well. It finished on a big high and very unexpectedly, although kind of predictable. But read it and you'll know what I mean. So I'm kind of looking forward to the second book, but kind of not because I can't see where it's going yet.
It does end nicely, it kind of wraps up nicely, but there are still some unanswered things.
Definitely, at the end there's a couple of questions I had, which will be answered in the second book, I'm told.
Yeah.
I've been told not to read a particular chapter until I get to it.
I thought when I read it there were quite a lot of funny moments.
There are quite a lot of funny moments. Some of the characters are quite comical, quite erotic in places as well, I discovered, which surprised me because I'd interpreted Feyre to be a young girl. Apparently she's not. Thankfully she's not. Yeah, I was quite surprised by some of the bits in it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's not suitable for younger readers.
No,
It's a young adult book.
Young adult book, yeah,
but-
definitely.
Yeah, not for younger readers. There are some mature moments in there.
Yeah, Feyre's understanding of the beast and his kind is based on everything she's heard in the village from her family, stories that have been told, stories about the past and how things have happened.
Yeah, her whole understanding of it is pretty much like one big folk tale, pretty much. What do you think about the writing? What do you think about Sarah J Maas as an author?
Yeah, good. She clearly had an idea and a slow start, but you know, not all books start with someone, I don't know,
Yeah.
something happening exciting. But yeah, as an overall writer, once you hit that part, it doesn't really stop. and you want to read the next page and then the next page and then the next page until you finished it, really. And then when you finish it, you either really want to pick up book 2 because you're that gripped, or you really don't know whether to pick up book two or not.
I personally, as soon as I put this one down, picked up book 2.
Well, I
Like,
have.
immediately.
I have picked up book 2, but but that's purely because right at the end there was a question that I really need answering. I need to know what happened to one of the characters. That's why I picked up book 2. Because of how it ended so well, you kind of think, well, where can you take this story, you know? So I'd like to know
How
where
little she knows.
I'd like to know where we're going with it now, what's going to happen next, because this book is full of everything you think could possibly happen, but I'm guessing not.
Not quite.
No.
Okay, so let's leave it at that for spoiler-freeness.
Okay.
Okay? If you haven't read this book and you plan on reading this book, now would be your time to leave. Off you go. If you have read this book and you want to hear more about our opinions, stay put. Or if you haven't read this book but don't care about getting spoiled or don't plan on reading this book for some strange reason, what?
Your ear was poking out like a little fairy. It's just the light hitting your hair. I thought you had a pointy ear.
How appropriate.
Okay, so, oh my goodness, what a book. Feyre and Tamlin.
I've read book 2, so...
I've not read book 2, so I don't know, but Feyre and Tamlin, great characters. Tamlin's the beast who steals her away from a life of poverty to go and live in Prythian.
There we go. There's a pronunciation guide in it, by the way.
He takes her
to the Spring Court,
to the
where
Spring
he is
Court.
the High Lord.
But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know he's a
Yeah.
High Lord yet. Or she does at the end, obviously.
Yeah.
But she doesn't find that out until halfway through the book. Yeah, so he takes her on the grounds that she killed one of his friends, unknowingly, but kind of knowingly.
Yeah.
And her debt was to go and live with him or die, basically. So she chose to go and live with him. Her family told her to go, her dad told her never to return. But yeah, so she goes to live there.
But it all works out sort of well for her.
Yeah, she then finds out why she was chosen to live there. Because she killed his friend, she was kind of the chosen one to break the curse. So yeah, she breaks this curse to free Tamlin and his court, but in doing so...
Breaks Amarantha's reign.
Yeah, she wants
Not
to take
that she-
over...
Hello, pigeon.
That was a bit
Did you
close,
see
wasn't
that?
it? Yeah. She wanted to take over the whole of Corinthian, and all the courts were kind of bowing down to her, weren't they? Apart from him, he wouldn't, because he didn't want to take over the human realm.
It wasn't just simply that, though.
No, she wanted him and he
Amantha
didn't.
was in love with him.
He didn't want her and wouldn't, because they'd been childhood friends, hadn't they? Because of their fathers and the war, various things. But he
It's difficult
decided...
for me to listen to this because I know book 2 and I know what happens in book 2 and how everything pans out in book 2. So then going back to book 1 and realising how much has changed.
Oh, I need to read book 2.
You do need to read book 2. So much happens in book 2.
But this could be a book on its own.
I think if there wasn't that cliffhanger about Rhys,
Yes, that's...
and there wasn't that bond between Feyre and Rhys, that no one knows at
Where
this
that's
point
going.
what's going to happen with that.
Well, no one. When you finish this, you don't know what's happened to Rhys because he disappears so oddly. The way he disappears into the shadows like he normally would isn't normal. He stumbles with eyes of terror. So why did he stumble with eyes of terror? That's what I'm reading the second book for, because I need to know what happened to Rhys. And I felt...
And pretty much that's what the second book is about.
Ah, there we go, you see. And I also felt that Rhys was a good guy, which you kind of find out at the end he kind of is. So
yeah, there is that debate in this book as to what Rhys's intentions are.
that's what I want to find out. I want to find out what's going on with him more than anything.
Yeah.
And how I want Tamlin and Feyre to be happy forever, but a strange feeling that something's going to pan out there. Because
Yeah.
they get married in the first part of the second book.
Yeah.
That's all I've read though. They're
Yeah,
planning
you're
their
not very
wedding.
far in. That's not a spoiler for the second one, by the way, if you haven't read the second one. No. Because at the end of this one, Feyre and Tamlin go back to the Spring Court and are like
Yeah, happily
happy
ever after.
and gonna be safe together because Amarantha, I keep calling her Amantha, that's not her name. Amarantha's gone.
I called her Samantha quite a lot.
Favourite character?
Ooh, Lucian.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Foxy boy. Quite like him.
Yeah, he's a good character. I liked when he told Feyre about the cereal but didn't tell her. He was like, if I were going to catch a serial, I would do this and I would do that.
He helped
I didn't tell you that.
No, he helped her in a kind of negative way, really, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't want her to know he was helping because he wanted her to think that he hated her.
Yeah.
Because of her killing his friend. But
he was on her side.
He was on her side, yeah. Yeah, Lucian, definitely, I think.
And I think at the end, he tries to help her and he gets like tortured or something, doesn't he?
What part?
Like at the end when she's in the cell or something, when Reese keeps coming to help her, I'm pretty sure Lucian turned up once.
Oh, he turned up late, didn't he? When Feyre was on the verge of dying, Reese turned up and she didn't want his help, and that's where she made the bond with him to
the bargain
to spend the week with him a month for the rest of her life, and he saved her life. Which is where you also think, well, could have asked her for anything really, but he didn't. But then it tells you that later in the book anyway, so. Yeah,
he could have asked for a lot more of her. Like, she would have said yes to anything at that point because she was going to die.
Yeah.
She would have agreed to be with him forever if she lived.
To save Tamlin.
To save Tamlin and Springcourt.
But Lucian does turn up, doesn't he? And he'd been tortured.
Yeah.
Because he'd fixed her nose. They broke her nose, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he'd fixed her nose, and they knew obviously something had happened because human bones don't heal like that. So he got lashed, and Tamlin had to do it, didn't he? 20 lashes Tamlin had to inflict on his friend.
So Lucian did try to help at one point, but
yeah. He tried to help quite a lot though throughout, didn't he? As did Reese. I mean, when they're in the court.
Yeah, Reese was the only person that ever like bet on her in the games, wasn't he?
Yeah. And when they were in the throne room, and Tamlin is away from Manthra Man, or whatever her name is.
Amarantha.
And they sneak into the back room for a little fondle, and Reese comes in and makes it look like it was him and tells Tamlin to sort himself out and get out, because if...
I really didn't like that bit about Tamlin. That bit then, when he snuck away, you know, the love of his life is going through these horrific games to try and save him. The first thing he does is go and try and have sex with her. He doesn't like try and help her, he doesn't comfort her, he doesn't give her any sort of support, he just shoves his tongue down her throat.
But she didn't ask for any either, she wasn't like pushing them away.
No, I know that, but I just didn't like that bit.
What, sit down and have a cup of tea?
Well, no, but like talk to her.
I don't
think he even spoke.
No, I don't think there were any words though, were there? I don't think there was much he could say. He knew that what she'd done had to be completed. She'd made a deal with the devil as such. And he knew that there was nothing he could do to stop events from happening, because she'd made that deal. So there wasn't really much to be said. But he reassured her that he still loved her, and I think that's what she needed, because he couldn't
speak in front of Amarantha.
He chose not to, didn't he? He chose to be silent. He chose to torture Amarantha by not saying anything, by not showing any emotion whatsoever, by not showing that he was being hurt by what was happening to Feyre. So I suppose those few minutes they had were just to reassure each other of their love, really, because he'd been watching her with Reese as well for the last few nights, drinking the fairy wine and getting drunk. And
alright, differing opinions on that.
Yeah, well, you know.
But I've read the second book, so...
So now I'm thinking, as she's just said that, what's Tamlin going to be like in the second book if it was his so-called love of his life? Was it not?
No, Tamlin is undeniably in love with her, yeah.
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, then.
Tamlin will tear the world apart to be with her, like, literally, with his big beastie claws.
Yeah, he's a power to be reckoned with. Now he's got his powers back.
Yeah. But he's not the only High Lord that's got his powers back.
They all have.
They all got their powers back. So did Feyre.
Yeah. She's now suddenly got long gangly fingers and legs that she keeps tripping over.
She's turned into a fae.
High fae at that.
Because she got a drop from every High Lord. Which means she's got a little bit of each High Lord's power.
And she's immortal.
Just a little bit. Well, yeah, there is that too, yeah. And she's a lot taller than she used to be.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think of the book. Good book, well written, slow start, like I keep saying, but...
Worth it, I think.
Worth it, definitely worth it.
Persevering through the first few pages.
To get to that first initial fight, or not fight, but...
Where he busts into her house, pretty much, and says, like, come with me.
Yeah, you live with me or you die. When that starts,
that's when
seriously...
The snowball happens.
Yeah, I haven't put it down since, really, and I've now finished it 2 days later, so...
It is a good book.
Second book looks a bit bigger.
It's about double the size, yeah.
Yeah, but...
I read the second one quicker than I read the first one. The second one is so much better than the first one. The first one's really good. When I read the first one, I gave it 5 stars. Then when I read the second one, I had to lower my rating of this one to 4 stars. just to emphasise there is such a difference. The second one is a massive 5 stars.
Okay.
And I gave this one 4 after that. But after initially reading it, I gave it 5. What would you give it?
I'd give it a 5.
Give it 5 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. But after reading the second one,
but then some people would pick it up and read them first few pages and go, nah, it's boring.
But I suppose if you're part of like this book community that I'm now a part of, you'll know the hype that everyone else has given it. And I think without that hype, I would never have picked it up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been one that I'd seen on the shelf and thought, yeah, that looks good.
No, me neither. It's not.
No.
The cover's not magical enough for me.
No.
And the blurb doesn't. No.
Yeah. But I think with the hype that everyone else has given it, and me persuading you to read it, that if I hadn't told you to push through those first 10 pages, you wouldn't have.
No.
But it's worth it. And I think you kind of need to be encouraged. And the third one obviously comes out in May the 2nd. I'm going to have to buy 2 copies, I've been told. So we can read it at the same time. So yeah, that's all we have to say about this book. As you can probably imagine, we'll have one of these coming up about the second one when you've read that. And then when we've both read the third one, we'll probably do it again.
Yeah, I think so.
So there'll be a little series of my tiny mother.
I am tiny.
You are tiny. Look at the difference between our heads.
Moon face.
Pea brain. How about that?
No, my brain's quite big. It's just my head that's small.
Pea face?
Pea face. Okay then.
Alright, if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have enjoyed my mum, please give it a thumbs up. Chat to me down in the comments, and if you aren't already subscribed and you fancy subscribing, I'm always eternally grateful for that. And I'll see you next time with whatever else it is that I plan on doing. Bye! Bye.